Positive Anime Reviews is a review show that is designed for people who aren't very picky about their anime, like me. Most anime I watch ends up in my 5 out of 5 category. My reviews are for those people who are looking for a reason to watch anime rather than hate on it. I am willing to give any and all anime a chance before stating my opinion. Lastly, my reviews are all my opinion and might and or most likely won't match yours. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. Just be respectful in the comment section. Thank you. And as always, possible spoiler warning ahead. Hey guys, Darth Gloric here, back with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about Sword Art Online, seasons 1 through 3, as well as the movie. Anyway, so if that intro was a little bit loud, I'm looking at my audio levels and seeing them spike a little bit, so I moved my mic away just a hair. Anyway, not the point. So, I just got back from school, and I'm exhausted, everything hurts, and I am overheated mostly. And everything doesn't hurt. My brain hurts, that much I'll say. I had to take a new test, and so I set up an appointment for Thursday. I have more school stuff to do, sad face. And so Thursday, odds are there will be there might be videos coming out on Thursday if I can just show up and do my thing. Well, actually, it's in the afternoon, so maybe not. Anyway, Thursday's up in the air, but it's leaning towards that there will be no videos on Thursday. So that obviously, that most certainly means that if as far as I know, I will be recording on Saturday to make up for it, most likely. And so obviously, today, this will be the only video going out today because I just don't have the brain power to do anything that requires thinking, and editing requires thinking. So, but I wanted to do this positive anime review because A, it's been a long time, and B, because I wanted to do it while it's fresh. So let's get into it. So, first of all, sorry it's been so long since my last positive anime review. It's been long because this, obviously, it was a very long show to watch. I had 3 seasons and a movie to get through, and the seasons were like 24 episodes apiece. So, as you can imagine, that's a lot of episodes. That's like 75 episodes. So, you know, plus a movie. So, there was a lot to get through. So, that's why it took so long. But we finally got it done. I think it was it 2 nights ago? I think it was 2 nights ago. I think it was Saturday night, really late, and we got that done. So that was super, super exciting. So anyway, let's go ahead and hop into it. So obviously, of course, we are talking about Sword Art Online. This is a very well-known anime. It's very popular as far as I've been able to tell. It's very, very popular. It's from the summer 2012 season, was the first season. So yeah, the first season aired in 2012. So there is yeah, so it's not exactly, I mean, the first season 1, it's not the freshest thing on the block, but subsequent seasons came out much, much later. Yeah, there's a lot that came out much later, and the brand newest season, which I believe is season 4, I suppose, is starting this October. So obviously this show is still ongoing, and I have watched. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna review as to what's out already, and then eventually, of course, when the new season airs, I think it's called War of Underworld. When the new season airs and when it's done, I will watch it, and then we'll do obviously that one separately. Anyway, so yeah, this is from this one is gonna be a little bit different. We are going to talk about this. We'll talk about one season at a time. The first season, of course, we'll talk about most heavily because that's where everyone will be starting, and that's where we'll introduce most of the characters. We'll kind of breeze over the rest of the other seasons. I'll give a very quick synopsis of the rest of it, and all of their scores will be done separately, and you'll see why later on. Anyway, so of course, like I said, we're talking about season 1 most heavily. Anyway, so there is a dub. I had to watch the movie in dub because the subtitles for the movie was really, really broken. Like, the English was so bad I couldn't tell what they were trying to say a lot of the time, and so I watched it in dub. Now, I wasn't totally thrilled about it because I'd watched the rest of the anime in sub, but it actually wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad. It didn't feel as good as the sub, but of course that's kind of that part is a kind of a biased opinion because of course I prefer sub over dub, so it's kind of a biased opinion, but it wasn't bad. Even I had to admit it wasn't bad. Now I believe this is an adaptation from a manga. It's from a light novel, so I suppose it's based upon what the site says. Anyway, so we're gonna read the synopsis for the first season. For the other ones, I will very quickly sum the rest of it up for all the rest of them. Anyway, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. In the year 2022, virtual reality has progressed by leaps and bounds, and a massive online role-playing game called Sword Art Online, or SAO, is launched. With the aid of nerve gear technology, players can control their avatars within the game using nothing but their own thoughts. Kazuto Kirigaya, nicknamed Kirito, is among the lucky few enthusiasts who get their hands on the first shipment of the game. He logs in to find himself, with 10,000 others, in a scenic and elaborate world of Aincrad, one full of fantastic medieval weapons and gruesome monsters. However, in a cruel turn of events, the players soon realize they cannot log out. The game's creator has trapped them in his new world until they complete all 100 levels of the game. In order to escape Aincrad, Kirito will now have to interact and cooperate with his fellow players. Some are allies, while others are foes, like Asunoyuki, who commands the leading group attempting to escape from the ruthless game. To make matters worse, Sword Art Online is not all fun and games. If they die in Aincrad, they die in real life. Kirito must adapt to his new reality, fight for his survival, and hopefully break free from his virtual hell. So, that's a really cool intro, right? Like, you're just like, wow. I mean, hopefully you're thinking, wow, that sounds amazing. Well, you're right. It is amazing. And now, again, this is going to... most of the anime I watch is positive. We've talked about this before. There's a reason this is called positive anime reviews. I'm not an anime hater, all right? I can watch a lot of anime that everyone will say is trash and come away thinking it's great. This anime, I feel like this is one of those anime that it has this stigma. That as far I've noticed, that in the anime community that people hate on Sword Art Online and anime like it, which is basically isekai, which means other world, I believe. And it's usually, sometimes it's like they transport to an actual physical another world. Sometimes it's they go into a game, stuff like that. You know, from our world to something else. Well, a lot of people hate on the isekai genre, even though it's obviously being made because it's popular. So everyone's watching it. We're just all bandwagon haters. And this is an anime that's kind of like at the spearhead of the isekai genre, as far as I've been able to tell. And a lot of people hate on it just on principle. And I would advise you to ignore the people that say it's garbage. Watch it for yourself and give it your own. You know, don't listen to what anyone says, even me, if you don't want to. Just watch it for yourself. Get your own opinion. I recommend that for any anime ever, by the way. If you find someone that you trust for reviews and listen to what they say and see if you know, compare what they say to many anime that you've seen. If your opinions tend to be pretty similar, then it's pretty safe to trust that person. But even so, probably still watch it. Like, if someone says it's garbage, well, maybe watch it. If they say it's great, still watch it. You should absolutely make your own opinion. I wanted to make these anime reviews because I wanted to be a positive voice in the anime community, because the amount of people that do reviews that just rip on everything is so high, it's just disgusting. And it drives me nuts to look up to... At first, when I was younger, getting into anime, I used to watch reviews on anime. I haven't done it in years, because I just, as soon as I hear the name of an anime, I write it down to watch. I don't know anything about it a lot of the time. I don't know anything about it, but some of them I'm super stoked for because I know what they are. Other ones, it's just a name among a list of 1,000 names. Anyway, so I just got on this side tangent, but the point is, I would advise you to ignore anyone that says SAO is trash, because they are probably a bandwagon hater, and ignore those people and give it a shake, you know, give it a watch for yourself and decide for you what it is, how good it is, because trust me, it's amazing. Anyway, so moving into our next section of rating, which is how clean or dirty is the anime. SAO is pretty clean. I would definitely give it probably a PG-13. SAO is pretty clean. There is mature parts. There is super heavy feels, heavy drama. People die. It's not for kids, but and there is some things like... it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of partial nudity, because it's not actual nudity, but because they don't actually show anything, but it's enough for you to get the idea. You know what I mean? Like, you're aware what's happening. And so I would give it a PG-13, because it's not, yeah, I mean, it's mature, but it's not too much, you know what I mean? Now, this is coming from someone who doesn't mind if it's a lot. Like, I don't mind watching anime that are incredibly mature with blood and nudity and just craziness. I like that stuff. It doesn't bother me. But I can't appreciate when something is more like they get the point across without having to show everything. You know, and that's what SAO is very good about, that they get the mature point without necessarily having to show anything. And keep in mind that we are only talking about season 1. I will do a very quick review of every season and the movie in this review. But we're going to talk heavily about season 1, and the rest of them will kind of skimp through just enough for you to get the idea, all right? So just keep in mind, everything we're talking about here, season 1 only, all right? Anyway, so as far as the genre, of course, it is, you know, isekai, as we've talked about, action, adventure, fantasy, romance, because there is romance that will like
It'll all aboard the feels train. It's so good. I love it. Anyway, so season length. This first season is 25 episodes long. Each episode is exactly what you would expect at 23 minutes. There's my phone. Ignore that. Anyway, each episode is 23 minutes, so exactly what you would expect. If memory serves, I don't think there was anything after each episode. A good way to tell is as soon as the episode finishes and the closing song starts, if it is about a minute and 30 seconds, there's nothing afterwards. Because I don't know if it's like the standard like formula. It's a minute and 30 seconds for the opening and a minute and 30 seconds for the closing, and that is the formula for opening and closing of most any anime I've ever seen. And so I don't think there was anything after the episodes. I would check a few times to be sure, because remember, I've been watching this for weeks and weeks and weeks because there's a lot of seasons to get through, so it's hard to remember exactly what season 1 was doing, but I don't think there was anything afterwards. I'm gonna take a quick sip, my throat's dying. Okay, anyway. So characters, moving on to our character list. Now, there is a fair amount of characters. We are going to be very selective in how we do this. We are going to hit the main characters of SAO Season 1. In Season 2, we're going to touch on probably one new character that's important, and then we'll probably touch on one new one in the Season 3. But I don't think there's anything new in the movie that really matters. Anyway, I don't think there's anything new in Season 3 that matters, or the movie, I mean. Anyway, so yeah, character list. So moving on to our first character of Kazuto Kirigaya, commonly referred to as Kirito. Kirito is his username in the game. It is his username in the game, and most people refer to him as Kirito even after they know his real name. And to be fair, I do mentally as well. It's just easier to remember Kirito. Anyway, so of course Kirito is the main character of the whole thing, all the seasons in the movie and all that jazz. He is main character numero uno. So he's of course the main black-haired character. He is often wearing black, so if you see him like wielding a black sword or wearing a black trench coat or whatever, if he's wearing black and he's black hair, it's probably Kirito. Anyway, so he is awesome. So he's very, very loyal to his friends. You really feel sorry for him because throughout the anime he just gets everything is always constantly on his shoulders. Specifically, everything is on his shoulders, and that's rough. You know what I mean? It's super rough, and you feel really bad for him. But he's a good guy. He does right by his friends, and he really stepped up when a really incredibly difficult situation was dumped on him. And he's just a really, really good guy. And he's awesome. I like him. He's one of my favorite characters in any anime. He's so cool. So otherwise, there's not too much to say. I mean, mostly I don't like to go too deep into most characters because it's like the development of characters is what makes a lot of things fun, and I think that you guys, it's fun if you watch it. I think it's more fun for you guys to watch it and experience the characters anew like I did, and I'll just give you just enough so you know who's who, but otherwise, I don't like to go too deep into it. So moving on to our next main character, of course, is Asuna Yuki. Now, Asuna is also her username in the game, so she's easy to remember because she's always Asuna. Anyway, she is, of course, I don't even know what color that is because if you don't remember, I'm colorblind. Blonde hair? Maybe we'll say kind of blonde haired character. She is Kirito's love interest, and their pairing of Kirito and Asuna, fewer couples have ever felt more right in any anime, and that is my opinion. Obviously, anything in any of my reviews is my opinion, but I think that the connection between Asuna and Kirito is undeniable, and it's so good. It's so good, and I love it. So, as far as Asuna goes, she is really strong-willed. That she's super pertinent in the game, and once they're as they're in SAO, and then later on as different circumstances happen through various seasons, she's always super supportive of Kirito. She always has his back, and considering everything that happens to him, you really, and a lot of things that happen to her for that matter, is that they always have each other's backs, and it's so nice to see the super tight pairing. You know what I mean? That they always have each other's backs, even if everything else falls to pieces. They always have each other, and it's so cool. Asuna is a really, really cool person. Like Kirito, she's very loyal to her friends. She's pretty strong-willed, and I don't know I don't know how most people feel about her, but I know I like her. She's amazing, and so she's awesome. So moving on to our last main character for season 1. Is Soooooo Kirigaya, and I'm probably crushing that name. I'm so sorry. So Soooooo is not actually his sister. She is actually Kirito's cousin and not his sister. He knows it, and he didn't know that she knew. Then later she does know. Anyway, she's actually his cousin, not his sister. It's not a spoiler. There you go. Anyway, so as far as Soooooo goes, she's another character that she only comes in to play at the midway point through the anime. Through the midway point through the anime is when Soooooo shows up, and that's when you get to know her much more heavily. Now, I really liked her. I really felt for her. I'm trying to debate whether I should say this or not. I'm trying to debate whether or not I should say this. Okay, so I'm going to talk about something that's related to Kirito and Soooooo, and if you don't want to hear it, then I would recommend skipping ahead. I would recommend skipping ahead because it probably won't take very long, but I don't want to spoil it. So I'll give you a second to take off if you did want to. Okay, so if you are still around, then quick little maybe tiny spoiler. So Soooooo is in love with Kirito, despite the fact that she is his cousin, and that's discovered in the later half. So. And I'll be honest, I totally shipped it. If it wasn't for Asuna and Kirito's connection being so undeniable and so right, I absolutely would have wanted Soooooo and Kirito to be together. Absolutely. But as much as I love Soooooo, as much as I loved how her and Kirito were, as much as I liked it, she was still barely second place to Asuna and Kirito. That pair was just too perfect. There's nothing else. I totally would have shipped it otherwise, but there you have it. Anyway, so yeah, other than that though, so spoiler over. So if I'm really lucky, I might have put in a little something on the screen to tell you, hey, small spoiler, skip ahead X amount of minutes, and you can avoid it. If I did do that, if I remembered, welcome back. So, yeah, I mean, it was a tiny spoiler, but, there it is. Anyway, so as far as favorite, most hated characters, favorite characters, it's hard to say. I don't know. There's a lot of good characters, but it's like the debate between, like, Kirito and Asuna. I guess if I had to choose, it would probably be... I don't know. Kirito and Asuna are my favorite characters. They're the main two of the series, and shout out to SAO for making characters that were so lovable. So, that's amazing. Now, as far as most hated characters go, that's a little bit hard to say, because obviously you kind of hate the villains, but, I mean, in some ways, there are some mini villains that show up that aren't that big a deal that I hate. Everyone will probably know who I'm talking about. In the second half, he's the blonde-haired dude. I'm not going to even say his name or look it up, so that way, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you'll know when you watch it. I hate him a lot. But yeah, so there's some little mini characters that are irritating, but otherwise not that big a deal. So as far as animation and music is concerned, animation was top notch in SAO. The animation is really good. The anime is great, and it is well made. It's not trying to set a visual record, like, we are going to make the most crazy visual anime you've ever seen. I'm not saying it's bad by any shake. It's great. I love this anime, obviously. But it's not going to set any records. It's well done. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not going to blow anyone away. It's maybe not going to be the first thing they saw. There's lots of pretty moments for sure. There's various like places that they're at that are very, very gorgeous, but it's not like, your jaw doesn't drop at any point. At least I don't feel like it did for me. Again, it's not bad though. So as far as the music is concerned, the music is also very good. I feel like the opening for the first season especially is pretty iconic. Fairly iconic. And it's really well done. It's nothing that's going to like make your jaw hit the floor, but it's well done. Okay, so this is where things get different. So normally this would be where we go to final rating and recommendation. But not this time, kids. This time we're going to skip to season 2. And again, a lot of the rest of this we'll be skipping over pretty quickly. because yeah, we'll be skipping over the rest of this pretty quickly because I'm not going to read the actual full synopsis. I'm just going to really touch on it. Okay, so as far as season 2 is concerned, now in season 2, as far as what happens, basically, obviously you would know that they escaped SAO, right? Obviously, the main characters aren't going to die. That's not a spoiler. So after they escape SAO, basically there's this thing where it's looking like that somehow this dude shot this guy in this other like virtual MMO, and he died in real life, and it's this big old mystery. So Kirito is basically assigned to do it, and is assigned to figure out what the heck is happening. And so that's pretty much the premise for season 2, is his journey figuring this all out and his struggle with figuring out whether he should do it, and things like that. So that's basically the premise. Now, while he's in this other MMO, like this VR MMO, is called Gun Gale Online, and so or GGO is also what it's known by, and so that's pretty much the premise. So while he is in GGO, he meets Shinon. Now, Shinon is a new main character that is introduced in, of course, season 2, and she is really, really cool. That you feel really, really sorry for her. You feel really sorry for her because she has a backstory that is explained later on. She has a backstory that is explained later on, and you feel really sorry for her. She has bullying problems, and inside the game, she is like this confident, stone cold killer. She's super skilled. In real life, she has these other problems that she's faced with that you really, really feel for. And the anime is really well made. There's nothing wrong with it visually or music. Visually, it's really cool looking because they had to make new combat mechanics for this new VR MMO, and it's really cool. Kirito is, of course, the main character in this anime in this season as well, and he develops all of these other new things that are super awesome, and he is the beast. He is a beast in this one, and it's really, really cool. So this one debuted in the summer 2014 season, so obviously a little bit later. Episode length completely normal, and it is also 24 episodes. Now that's pretty much it. Like I said, we're gonna breeze through the rest of these seasons. Because, like I said, I don't want this to be an hour. All right, so after season 2 comes the movie, which is Sword Art Online movie, Ordinal Scale. So basically, this takes place after the events of season 1 and 2, obviously. And a new kind of technology has appeared, the Ogma, and it basically kind of mixes reality and virtual reality. So basically, it allows you to see virtual reality over reality, pretty much. And there's all of this new, a lot of old characters, and a lot of you meet new people. There's not really any new major characters that are introduced that matter, to be honest. So there's no other new characters to talk about in this one that matter at all. But but it was really, really good. The movie, let me back up to the basic synopsis. So this new technology has appeared. Kirito is not a huge fan about it, but Kirito's friends are super big into it, and basically all of this stuff kicks off. There is lots of violence and things. If I explain too much, I'll start spoiling it, and we're not doing that. So basically, there's a lot of mystery involved. Kirito's the main character. Asuna's the main character. You get the idea. Oh, I meant to mention, Asuna is the main character for the last, she is has a much bigger role in the last half of season 2 of Sword Art Online, by the way. Of season 2. Now, as far as rating, I forgot to go into rating because I'm doing this maybe too quickly. Anyway, let's back up a little bit. As far as rating for season 2, it's probably PG-13. There's even less intense than even some things that season 1 had, so it's not that big a deal. Now, going into the movie, I would give the movie probably a much more mature rating, because the movie, obviously, because it's a movie, it has a much bigger budget. The animation and music for season 2 were just about the same as season 1. Again, some cool things, but otherwise it looks and feels kind of the same. For the movie, obviously it's a movie, has a much bigger budget, and the animation was crazy. It was so pretty, and it was really, really well done. And of course, the music was the music is good like always. But other than that, there's not too much to say about that. And then we come into the final season of what's out currently, which is Sword Art Online Alicization. I think is how you're saying that. So basically, a new kind of technology comes out, and it is like it's a new kind of of technology that you dive into, just like SAO was, but different, obviously. And there's this whole new world, and there's a lot of mystery in this one that you're really confused about. There is a lot of mystery in this one that it really grabbed you. It really did a great job of grabbing on and keeping your attention, and I loved that. I super liked it. It was super good, and yeah, it was really well done. And basically, it's the same basic idea that Kirito, is the main dude, and some crazy things happen with him, and there's this big old mystery that goes in the beginning that it's so complicated I can't even get into it without spoiling it, so you're gonna have to watch it for yourself. As far as main characters are concerned, actually this one introduces two more main characters. This one introduces, first we have Alice. Alice is one of the main characters of this new season, as you might imagine, because it's called Alicization. But of course Kirito is the main character, but Alice is in there as well. And she's really cool. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances, which her story is complicated. I'm not going to get into it. But ultimately, she's a nice person. You feel bad for her. Her life is difficult. You don't see her like enough to know too much about her, but you like her. I don't know. She's blonde. You'll know her. The next mother, and this is probably sounds so poor that I'm blowing through this so fast. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, the last main character is Eugeo. Now, Eugeo is really cool. That him and Kirito are like bros in this anime, and you really like him. Now, he is much more prevalent than Alice in this season, just because of the way the story worked out. It's nothing that they did wrong, but that's just how it is. And him and Kirito are really main characters in this season. Asuna kind of takes a step backwards, which is, as usual, which to me is also honestly kind of annoying. I wish Asuna was a little more prevalent than she is, but it is the way it is. That's the way the cookie crumbles. But there you go. But anyway, as far as Eugeo is, he's super caring. Him and Kirito feel like brothers, and that's super cool. He really cares about Alice, which is also really, really cool. And and he learns to fight from Kirito, and he like is much stronger than maybe you give him credit for. Initially, I was like, here comes the student trying to keep up with Kirito, but he really genuinely had some cool, like, super badass moments where you're like, man, he really is amazing. Like, anyway, stuff like that. It was really, really cool. Otherwise, there's not too much to say. This season was also 24 episodes, and it is from the fall 2018 season. Like I said, season 4 starts airing in October, I believe, and so that one should be coming out not too long. And again, I'll wait till it's over, and I will wait till it's all wrapped up before I watch it. Now, this season the episode length was completely normal, 24 episodes, just exactly what you'd expect. Rating wise, this one's the site says PG-13. I would border on R, just like the movie was, because in this season there was some brutal things that happened that I'm like, oh my gosh. So this one, there was some brutal scenes that I would give this one a mature rating rather than a PG-13 like the site says, because there was some brutal things in this one that they really stepped it up. It felt like it was even more mature than normal, and it was really intense. So I would give this season a mature rating, but it's still, of course, really, really good. Anything else? Oh yeah, so the animation and sound in this one gets a special highlight, because in the newest season, Alicization, the animation was so sharp. It was really, really pretty and really well done. It felt on the level of the movie rather than on the first two seasons. And again, that's not to say the first two seasons are trash or anything, but because they're certainly not. But this season, the animation especially it felt like they felt like they really dialed it up this one, and it was really good. The other thing that was really amazing was the sound, actually, because previously the sound, there was nothing wrong with it, but it didn't like specially draw your attention. There was some super cool sound effects, and especially Sword Art Season 2, where with the guns and Kirito's like blade thing that he could deflect bullets with, which was super cool. The sound was cool in that one, but in this one especially, when there's different sword fights that happen, and no surprise there. But during the sword fights, like, you could feel the impact. Like, they feel heavy and the blows feel powerful, and you really feel it when someone gets hit. You're like, oh my gosh, like, he's probably dead, or oh man, that guy's wounded, or whatever. They really did a great job with the sound in that season, in this newest season. That the sound, especially like the sword clashing noises and things, it felt so deep and powerful, and it was so good. And it really felt like that they dialed it up for that one. Anyway, so if you might have noticed that this doesn't include the spin-off Gun Gale Online show, I'm going to watch that anime separately and get its own complete separate rating, because it doesn't, from what I understand, it's just a spin-off. It takes place in GGO, but it doesn't include like characters that we would know or whatever. And so the GGO or the Gun Gale Online, the spin-off anime, I will watch that separately, and eventually, of course, that review will show up whenever it shows up. Otherwise, I think that's mostly it. I think we could finally head into our final rating and recommendation. So again, we're going to hit this one season at a time. So starting with Season 1, I give Season 1 a 6 out of 5, one of my favorites. This anime is one of my favorites, and I love it. No surprise there. I love Sword Art Online so much. Especially Season 1, I think, is extra special because of... I think Season 1 is extra special because of the original stakes, where it all began. It's where Asuna and Kirito are so, like, both equally represented, that I feel like Asuna gets much better, like, screen time in Season 1, whereas in pretty much everything else other than the last half of Season 2, Asuna really doesn't get as much. It feels like that she's there, obviously, and she is and I feel like that she's the main character, but she just feels like a lot of times that she's like there as Kirito's support system, and I feel like that she doesn't have as much of the spotlight as she did in Season 1. And again, that's not enough to affect the score. I still love the anime. It's still 6 out of 5. But I feel like Season 1 might be, if I had to choose a favorite out of all of them, I think Season 1 would be the one. Anyway, so moving on to Season 2, I give Season 2 a 5 out of 5. Very good. This anime made no mistakes worth noting, and it's definitely worth a buy. So, the reason why that one gets a 5 is because the last half of Season 2, after the initial Gun Gale Online stuff, they actually... after it wraps up halfway through, which is the common system, and Season 1 was the same way. By the way, if anyone tells you that the last half of Season 1 is bad, they're idiots, because the last half of Season 1 is just as good as the first half. It's amazing, and if you think differently, reevaluate your life. It's amazing. Do yourself a favor, watch it and give it a chance. Anyway, regardless. But Season 2, the last half, it was all in-game stuff, and it really didn't, I mean, except for the last portion had something else going on, but a lot of it really had a hard time holding my interest, as far as that was concerned. And the first half was so good. The second half was like, it's not bad, but it's just not as good as the rest of it. So that's the reason that Season 2 gets bumped down. So that's why. Anyway, so as far as the next one, which will be the movie Ordinal Scale, I'm going to give that one a 6 out of 5. One of my favorites. This anime is one of my favorites, and I love it. The movie was super, super good. It was just really, really well done. It was... that things were different, and after that point was all new for me. I had never seen the movie or, of course, this newest season, and so after that point, I was like super glued, paying attention. And the mystery in that one was super cool, and it was weird watching SAO as a movie, but it was cool. I don't watch enough anime movies. I really don't. I need to watch more of those. Regardless, it was fantastic. It was really well made, and the mystery was really, really fun, and it kept your interest, and it was great. So, moving on to the final season of the Sword Art Online Alicization, I give that one also a 6 out of 5, one of my favorites. This anime is one of my favorites, and I love it. So, that's why we did them separately, is because the rating systems for all this is a little bit weird, because, of course, Seasons 1, the movie, and then Alicization, Season 3, all get 6s, whereas Season 2 gets a 5 out of 5, so that's why. So, that's why we did them separately. this particular one might seem a little bit rambly, but that's the problem with doing something that has so many seasons and taking so long, is it's hard to remember exactly what you felt about each one, and it's hard to, because you don't want to ramble forever, and so it's just rough. It's rough trying to sum up so many seasons of an anime. Anyway, regardless though, we finally reached a good point, and I feel like hopefully I got the point to you across, got the point across, you know, and hopefully you that yeah. So Sword Art Online as a show is one of my favorite animes of all time. A lot of people are on the bandwagon of hate, and I would encourage you to ignore it and watch it for yourself and get your own opinion about it. Because just because there's tropes in anime doesn't mean they're bad. They're tropes for a reason. It's because they're in every anime because everybody loves them, even if they say they don't. It's just the same thing with McDonald's. It's everyone that says, like, you know, McDonald's is trash, or they all act like it's like last resort, and yet like it's like one of the biggest fast food chains around. So you're like, so clearly not everybody can hate it because everybody eats there. Same thing. It's like, you know, everybody says we hate it, but then somehow it's also incredibly popular, so therefore we many of us must be watching it. Same thing. So don't be, you know, an anime hipster. All right, go watch SAO. I recommend it. But if nothing else, make your own opinion about it, and that's what I recommend more than anything else. Regardless, though, that is going to call it for this positive anime review. I have started on the next anime that I'm going to watch. That one, it's a trip, to be sure, and luckily it's much shorter. It's just 12 episodes, so that one, that review, assuming I can watch it in a decent amount of time, should be coming out, you know, much quicker than this one was from the last one, so that's good. Like I said, this is the only video going out today. Tomorrow we'll be back on. As far as news go, I actually do have some news about Final Fantasy. So I did some leveling. And I got us through the irritating dungeon. I'm not going to go into incredible detail here because I will explain it all at the beginning of our Final Fantasy video tomorrow. But yeah, we're in a good spot there, and I think I overreacted as far as the danger of the dungeon was concerned. And again, I will explain all of that in the beginning of that video, so if you're interested in Final Fantasy, stay tuned for Tuesday tomorrow, because we are in a good spot to continue on, and it's not as bad as I thought it was, so that's good news. Regardless though, that is going to call for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.